stock of the day is Metcash. It is holding its AGM today. The wholesale retailer reporting a 1.7% gain in total group sales in the first 7 weeks of this financial year, saying that the increased cost of living has affected shoppers' behaviour. It's reported a solid sales growth there and expects it to continue, while increased cost of living pressures, as I said, impacting what shoppers are doing at the moment. The group declared a record $308 million in underlying profit after tax in fiscal 23. Earnings per share, they're up 6.4%. Well, let's get into it, get some analysis there in that space. David, what are your thoughts on Metcash? And I guess, look more broadly at what we're seeing in the retail space at the moment, which has actually defied some expectations.
Yeah, well, this is somewhat recessionary proof because it's in the that area of food and alcohol, etc.
Yep.
I mean, it's not their margins are tighter than if you look at Coles or Woolies, but look, the results a bit it's okay. It wasn't shooting the lights out, but 4.6% growth in net profit. Now I'm just reading the annual report and the comments from the chairman. They're saying they had stellar growth over the last 3 years, a 29% increase in revenue, 50% in profits. Yeah, but that was also during COVID as well, right? So that was an unusual period. So I'd take those comments with a grain of salt personally myself. But look down here, it does look like good value. I got to say, Metcash, it's come down to a good support level here. It's got a great yield of 6% fully franked. They're optimistic, their outlook going forward. So it is a defensive sector. So I would definitely not say it's a sell. I would even say it's a buy down here.
Okay.
I think it's steady as she goes, and if you've got it, hold. But definitely, I would not be adverse to buying it down here. And on the chart, because I'm a technician as well, it's looking like it's starting to move back up here. And if you bought it here, you'd have a stop, below, just below around 360. You'd have a stop in place. So that's not much downside really. But I think it could move back up to about $4 and beyond, even maybe as high as $4.20. So down here, look, it's good value. It's on a low multiple, about 10 times, which is cheaper than Coles or Woolies.
Yep.
So, but all again, right. It's steady as she goes, really.
Okay, not much downside. Claude, do you agree?
I agree with David that the valuation is undemanding, so we don't need to see a lot of great performance from Metcash for investors to do okay. You do have that 5.8% dividend yield that's fully franked, so it grosses up beyond there. So you are getting probably to the level where the yield is sufficiently high above, what you can get just in a high interest savings account for one to consider, a small allocation as a dividend investor. However, I personally would be more concerned about, I guess, the short-term outlook. My concern with Metcash is, I as a customer of, the independent grocery stores that Metcash supplies, I couldn't be happier, and I'll continue to spend the exact same amount of money at those stores as ever. But I am a little bit concerned that they do tend to be a little bit more expensive than Coles and Woolies, which are the competitors. So I see them as a little bit less resilient, perhaps, than David does. And as a result of that, my opinion of this stock is just a little bit worse than his. So where he says hold, maybe a buy, I would say, look, if you're holding this as a dividend stock, I'd hold on to it and keep getting that dividend. But it's not one I would be buying. Look, I don't necessarily think there's going to be a recession, but I do think that there might be some behaviours which mean that people are substituting what they might buy at the IGA for something they'll buy at Coles, Woolies or Aldi instead. So for that reason, I hold it best. I wouldn't be getting into it.
Yeah. Interesting point you make. I've sort of noticed that myself, in fact, that, those prices do tend to be higher at IGA rather than Coles and Woolies, but a lot of that, I guess, comes up to location. Shoppers tend to go for those supermarkets that are around the corner, don't they, rather than actually going in search of perhaps some bargains of those staples. All right. Well, there we go. That's our stock of the day, Metcash.